Let's talk about Terence Crawford's metamorphosis. I think there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, but that's just life, isn't it? So there's been a whole bunch of hoopla about Terence Crawford apparently getting huge for this fight, and well, the powers that be are just using this illusion to basically promote the fight. In my not so humble opinion, Terence Crawford to me looks like the same guy he was going into the Madrimov fight, and if he put on 2 pounds, pound and a half of muscle, and maybe that much fat, or will have put on that much by the time it's all said and done and he's in that ring across from Canelo, then hey, maybe it'll be a real fight, you know what I mean? Maybe. But there's been rumblings about Terence Crawford being at 177 or so pounds entering camp and things of that nature for many, many years now. So this idea that he's 186 right now, even though you've never seen any evidence of this, but let's suppose that photo session in the gym where he's wearing shoes, a sweatsuit, a whole bunch of clothes, probably has a phone in his pocket, jewelry, and whatever else it may be. Let's say he stepped on the scale like that and he was 186. Okay, so he was 179. Okay, so a couple of pounds bigger than what he's been walking into camp weighing for maybe the last 5 years or so. Oh, okay. I mean, when you look at him entering this camp and the videos are on his YouTube channel, he looks like the same guy that was on the scale in that Madrimov fight after rehydrating a little bit, because that wasn't the official weigh-in, that was just a ceremonial one. He looks like the same guy with maybe 5 to 10 pounds of fat on him. He has a lot less definition, and when you look at his face, it's just puffy. Okay. So he's eating good. For the first time in his professional boxing career, he's eating good because he can. Terence Crawford was always a big dude. What he had to do in order to make the weight, which is why he was a weight bully forever, even at 147, he was one of the biggest welterweights around. What he had to do is burn up muscle, not take steroids to build it up. No, he had to burn up muscle that naturally wanted to grow on his body because of the rigors and strains of boxing, working out that he was putting on it. He had to restrict calories and protein. He was probably a, chicken and fish kind of guy. And now he's eating steaks and not worried about it. Terence Crawford is not putting on weight, getting big for this fight, and he's for damn sure not using steroids to put on muscle. That would ruin him at this point in time. And he doesn't need it because he's already Canelo size anyway. And we all know he's super strong because he deadlifts, I don't know, ask the fanboys how much, but apparently a ton. And he's a wrestler. Didn't you see him submitting Big Baby Miller the other day? Whatever. His advantages are supposed to be quickness, being fleet of foot, using his reach and length, okay? Not going to wrestle Canelo. He might have to, even though we haven't really seen much of a wrestling game from Terence Crawford in the pros. But that's going to be after all else fails. So just because you're seeing some photos, which may or may not be Photoshop, where Terence Crawford is covering half of his body with the towel. He's got a pump. He's all sweaty, glistening. The light is super harsh. And he's basically in fat camp still, or pre-camp, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't mean he's putting on muscle or any kind of significant weight. What you're looking at is a guy losing weight to make the weight. That's what they do, right? They're boxers. And the only relevant difference between these two, insofar as that is concerned, is that Crawford, again, is finally eating good, and Canelo has been eating good for years. Crawford is finally going to fight at his natural weight, while Canelo had done that ever since he moved up to 168. They're both natural, whatever the hell that means, super middleweights. They're the same size. Crawford's not putting any weight on. He's just not dropping tons and tons of weight, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I was probably the only one who told you going into the Madrimov fight that Terence Crawford is bigger than Madrimov. Well, what was the narrative going into that fight? How much bigger Madrimov is, right? It was all lies. You got duped, those of you that did. And they're pushing the same narrative again, where Canelo is more or less Madrimov's size. A little bit thicker, maybe. Okay, we'll give him a few pounds, but come on, let's not exaggerate how much bigger he is, because he isn't. Just FYI, both Terence and Canelo started at about the same weight when they were at about the same age. Only Canelo didn't look like death when he was on the scales back then. So it's all BS. It's all promotional. You're being duped. People are at each other's throats talking about PEDs since both guys have a history of cheating. And Terence is now with Snack and all this other stuff, and all these provocative, I guess, photos are being released, and people are just losing their minds. They're getting into this. They're being sold a fight they never asked for. They never wanted. They've been convinced that this is something they've always wanted. You got a past prime 38-year-old Terence Crawford who, for all intents and purposes, was exposed in his last fight. Let's keep it real. They took away his funny gloves. They give him 10 ounces. And he looked like, well, very much the same guy that fought Postal back in the day. While the narrative was, he's so mean. He's the meanest guy out there. Which never made any sense, because how is he going to be one of the best counterpunchers out there? And he was a passive counterpuncher and a super mean guy at the same time. That never made any sense. But that's always been the aura about Terence Crawford. Fake. So you got a guy who is way past his prime, was supposed to smash, stop, knock out. Madrimov never came close to that, arguably lost the fight, proving that he isn't even the top 154-pounder. And now he's moving up 2 more weight divisions to fight Canelo, who's also a fellow pound for pound, supposedly, except much, much bigger, right? And he smashed and destroyed all these guys that are much, much bigger than he, even though he threw something like 120 punches in his last fight. So looking at it fairly and taking objective evidence into consideration and drawing what should be the types of conclusions we always draw when we see this type of stuff happening, both of these guys are way past it. But this is somehow a great big fight and something we apparently all have been just dying to see. That's how people are acting when reality is quite different. This is a manufactured fake fight, obviously. So you got these WWE narratives. Look at how big Terence Crawford is, when he's the same guy he always was. He's just finally allowed to be himself in that ring on fight night. They took away his funny gloves, gave him gloves that were 2 ounces bigger than what he's used to, and we finally saw who Terence Crawford was. Or, again, he wasn't some mean, top-level, amazing, great pound-for-pound guy. He was just one of the better 154-pounders out there. That's it. And not even the top guy. But we'll cut him some slack because he was 37. And now he's going to be 38, once again, coming off a really long layoff, fighting not little Madrimov, but huge top-level pound-for-pound Canelo, one of the greatest Mexican fighters of all time. And this is damn near 50-50. He went 50-50 with Madrimov, right? 10-fight novice that's never been 12 rounds before. He's skipping 2 more weights, fighting one of the best fighters in boxing today, and is damn near still 50-50? Yeah, make that make sense. I don't understand how people can't see through the fakery. Actually, I do. They're all noobs. It's all UFC and WWE fans, because real boxing fans, sorry to use that again, have basically retired. They got tired of the BS. Exactly this type of BS. When I first started doing this and there were still OGs and real boxing fans around in YouTube, more than there are today, there was no room for Dana White in boxing, and now he's being embraced because he brought his fanboys with him into boxing. WWE and UFC fans. And we all know what the majority of UFC fans are like. Drunk, brain dead, overly excited. Screaming like a bunch of teenage girls at a Michael Jackson concert. They're WWE fans who are yearning for something real. And they think they got it. But yeah, Terence Crawford has metamorphosized. He is different now, no doubt about it. And yes, he's older, more mature, and when that happens, most people generally just chill out a little bit, yeah. But he's also eating good, okay? Meaning he's not as cranky as he always was. And that's what Max Kellerman, because he was the one who called Bud mean, got all wrong. He confused the dude's crankiness, hangriness, for somehow being a mean guy, when he was just a crab ass. And the big reason was because he didn't get to eat all his favorite foods. And now that he does, well, he's built different. Crawford, he just different. People do notice some change, something. They kind of got their finger on what's happening, but I think they just misdiagnose everything at the same time. But yeah, Bud is different now. Whenever have you seen him smile this much? Whenever have you seen him promoting himself? Not just promoting himself, going hard promoting himself. This is the biggest, most important, most dangerous fight of his career against the best opponent ever. Not just skill-wise, but he's so much bigger. And Terence Crawford is more chill than you've ever seen him before. He doesn't have that intensity anymore. Obviously, because the fight is real, guys. Obviously. He's not going to have his funny gloves, and he's going to be fighting in much bigger gloves than before. Against the best opponent he's ever faced. That's so much bigger, right? And he's so happy, super chill, relaxed, zero intensity, none. That face-off was so fake and manufactured. I mean, this is WWE. You got Canelo, who has a history of chastising his opponents for being rude, not bending the knee, not kissing the ring, not talking to him the way he wants to be talked to, which is why apparently some of them never got the fight in the first place. But then anybody tried a little bit of trash talk or mean mugging Canelo or whatever. Oh, it was on. Canelo got mad. He was ready to fight right then and there. His skin color would all of a sudden match his hair. And now with Bud Crawford, they're sitting there at the press conference, holding back their laughter, smiling a little bit under their breath, just duper's delight all over that stage, jawing at each other, talking smack. Two of the worst trash talker in the last 10 or 15 years at this level, right, are all of a sudden trash talking each other and enjoying it. And obviously that has nothing to do with the fact that WWE is now promoting boxing. Nothing. Both of these guys have lost their intensity, not just outside, but inside of the ring. Go watch their fights. They've lost their edge. They sleep in silk sheets, pajamas, whatever. Crawford is walking through some venue in one of these videos, and he's stopping and taking photos with every single fan that wants that. Who the fuck is this guy? Canelo is trash talking and obviously enjoying it with a huge smile on his face, giving Crawford a little friendly push. Both of these guys are happy, satisfied. They're eating good. They're super chill, and I guess to some people, they're putting on a good show. And both of these fanboy bases, are at each other's throats, bickering, fighting, arguing, getting all nervous, feeling the pressure, insecure, scared, triggered. And these two clowns are laughing their butts off all the way to the bank. And I have to admit, I am enjoying it myself, because outside looking in is just different. You know what I mean? It's built different.